put him through a very strong detox, changed his diet. They did everything by the book, and we watched a lot of lectures to kind of teach ourselves along the way. And 3 months later, they told him that the tumor in his head was dead.
Wow. This is Justin with We Are Change Orlando, and I'm here with Patty Holden. Patty, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
Patty has a background in anthropology, but today she is currently teaching food as medicine, the alkaline diet, and amongst other topics. Patty, explain a little bit how you got from anthropology to food as medicine.
Well, anthropology is actually a field of study that includes a lot of different topics: politics, government, religion, and food would be one of those categories that we would study. Mm-hmm. I also studied humanities in school, which basically covers the same topics. Anthropology gets a little bit more into the science of the diseases that an ancient civilization might have had, the kinds of diets that they ate. So I guess between humanities and anthropology, I kind of had a set of skills that enabled me to do research after college. And what happened was, when I did graduate, which was the summer of 2009, mm-hmm. my health was at an all-time low. Like, I was 25 pounds heavier, I had a lot of breathing problems, I was having skin problems like eczema in some places, acne in others. My energy was at an all-time low. Sometimes I would take 2 or 3 hour naps in the middle of the afternoon. I was falling asleep at the wheel a lot. So there was a lot of things happening in my health, and it was just getting progressively worse. And between the summer of 2009 and December 2010, it just kept getting progressively worse. And also during this time, I knew a lot of friends or friends of my parents who were A, dying of cancer, B, recently diagnosed with cancer, and one of my favorite professors died of skin cancer. I had a couple of friends who were recently diagnosed with cancer. Wow. So all of a sudden I had about 8 or 9 people in a very close circle around me that had cancer. And then I also knew that my own health was deteriorating as well. So a friend of mine who does Reiki mentioned something about how cancer cannot grow in an alkaline environment. Mm-hmm. So I had no idea what this meant. So I went home that night and I started doing research with the 2 keywords, cancer and alkaline. And I read for a few days, and it kind of inspired me to try it out for myself. So I found a really good website about the alkaline diet that offered a cookbook. I bought an alkaline diet cookbook and picked out a few of the recipes, went and bought the things that I needed because I had nothing in my kitchen that these new recipes had in them. So I just kind of blindly put myself on this alkaline diet, and on day 4, my arthritis was gone. My breathing problems were substantially lessened. Like, I could actually sleep through the whole night and breathe through the whole night. Mm-hmm. Within about 21 days to 30 days, my skin started to change, and I noticed that I started looking younger. I definitely started feeling younger, and it was just so inspiring that I kept, studying what this was all about. And
they probably wanted you to you wanted to keep learning more about it after this, seeing these results.
Exactly. And then I watched a few of the documentaries that are going around about the food culture in mm-hmm. America. And because of the anthropology and because of the humanities background, I guess I had that interest and that ability to take that study and go on with it. Because food culture is actually one of the topics that we study in anthropology. Mm-hmm. So it just makes sense that I would have kind of gotten onto this. So.
What exactly, explain the alkaline diet a little bit more. What does it consist of?
The alkaline diet is when you learn to juggle around, you learn to balance foods. I'm kind of seeing where this is one of the principles behind the yin-yang symbol, where you learn to balance oppositions. Mm-hmm. In the case of the alkaline diet, some people call it an acid alkaline diet. Really, any diet, the paleo diet, if done correctly, is an alkaline diet. There are many really good healthy diets that people are on that would be called an alkaline diet. An alkaline diet basically means that you're eating slightly more alkaline foods than acid foods. And you can Google online acid alkaline food charts, and you're going to see all kinds of representations of, you know, all the foods going from the most acidic all the way up to the most alkaline. And the basic principle behind the alkaline diet is to eat 70 to 80% alkaline foods and 20 to 30% acidic foods.
Okay.
If you're more sick, like if you have a cold or if you have the flu or if you have cancer, if you have diabetes, the idea is to go even more alkaline, 90 to 100% alkaline, until you get your health, you know, back to where you want it, and then go back to that 70-30 ratio.
So this isn't just like a healing measure if you have cancer or are very sick. It's also preventative as well?
It's extremely preventative.
Okay.
I have seen this way of, now everybody has a different, you know, you can eat alkaline and eat Mexican food. And basically, this is an alkaline food plate that you can find online. And basically the green area shows you how much food on your plate should be alkaline. And then the small area shows you how much food should be acid. And acid foods include grains, fruits, nuts and oils, and animal proteins. So it's not that we can't eat these acidic foods, but they need to be high quality acids. We still need acids in our body. This is a balance between acid and alkaline. And if a person learns how to adjust their diet to include more alkaline foods than acid foods, you know, a lot of health problems just start melting away.
Wow.
And I've seen this happen over and over and over, and not just with cancer, but, you know, even just minor things. Even seasonal allergies that people normally get in the springtime are dramatically reduced. And in my case, after 20 plus years of having hardcore sinus infections year after year after year, I really just don't even get them anymore.
Wow. And how does this compare to the food pyramid that we're taught, that what we're actually supposed to be eating? Right.
Well, if you look at a government food plate, that used to be the pyramid, and now it's an actual food plate. And if you look at the current government food plate, it's divided into 4 sections. They're all approximately a quarter of the plate. The vegetable section is slightly larger than the fruit section. And then it has grains as a quarter of the plate, and then it has protein, assuming meat, as a quarter of the plate, and then off to the side it has a cup of dairy. So they're assuming, I'm assuming that's a cup of milk.
Right.
So what the government has us eating is, at every meal, a serving of pasteurized dairy, a serving of meat at every meal, a serving of grains at every meal, and a quarter, approximately maybe a little bit more than a quarter of the plate would be vegetables, and about a quarter of a spot for the fruit.
So it's almost the opposite of the alkaline
So
diet.
like 4 out of 5 objects on the government food plate are things that I would teach people not to eat on an alkaline diet, or to really restrict them. So when your child goes to school, they're getting the servings that have been allotted by the government. And when I teach people to go on an alkaline diet, I'm actually telling them to, you know, reduce the pasteurized dairy, and to reduce the meat, and to reduce the bread. You know, the way that the bread is made today, when they add the yeast and all this, is different than the way people used to make bread when they let it rise for an entire day, such as in sourdough bread. So the bread is different. So the information that people are getting on how they should eat to stay healthy is completely incorrect.
Now, I know you have a couple success stories, but one in particular sticks out to me, a gentleman with the brain tumor that was basically sent home, and that's where you kind of stepped in. Explain how that went.
Well, in his case, he had done chemotherapy twice, and the cancer had come back a 3rd time, and they told him that it was terminal and that there was nothing else they could do with him. And this is the final speech that most cancers are going to get. After round of chemo, their immune system is just destroyed, and there comes a point where doctors just simply don't have any other options. So they always say, well, I'm sorry, there's nothing else we can do for you, you know, go home and get your affairs in order. So this is when they thought, well, what do we have to lose? Let's try diet change. So the problem was that the diet change was not going to be strong enough. So we actually did raw vegetable juice detoxing. We did a lot of natural protocols. And we found everything basically online.
Right.
and put him through a very strong detox, changed his diet. They did everything by the book, and we watched a lot of lectures to kind of teach ourselves along the way. And 3 months later, they told him that the tumor in his head was dead.
Wow.
And he actually had 2 tumors in his brain. One was removed surgically, and the second one they had to leave in his head because it had started to grow roots down into the brain. And that's the one that was dead 3 months later. About a year and a half later, they told him that he was cancer-free. And he's still alive today. He's doing fine. He should probably be able to live another 15 or 20 years. He's an elderly man, so I mean, he's going to be able to die of old age now.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, I guess my last question for you is, what advice would you give to someone that is willing to try this out, but is just not too familiar with it yet?
Well, there's actually 2 problems that we're having in the food culture today in America. One of them is the alkalinity. Mm-hmm. There are too many people eating too many acidic foods, whether they're organic or not. Mm-hmm. And so they're not following that acid-alkaline ratio of 70-30 to keep their bodies slightly alkaline. So, they might, even people who are eating organic, if they are eating too many acidic foods, they are going to have the problems associated with metabolic acidosis, which is what this is actually. To me, we have too many people who have, the doctors have kind of categorized different symptoms into different diseases. If you have this set of symptoms, you have diabetes. If you have this set of symptoms, you have heart disease. If you have this set of symptoms, you have cancer. To me, they're all just basically malnourishment, and they're an advanced stage of acidosis. But the second problem that ties into that is toxicity. So we're having problems with acidity and toxicity. The acidity is coming from eating foods that are too acid, whether they're organic or not. The toxicity is coming from eating foods that have chemicals in them, whether they're alkaline or not. So those are the 2 main problems. And to me, these are the root causes of all these diseases. Now, for a person to change their diet overnight and go from eating terrible to perfect the following day is just not going to happen. So don't put the stress on yourself to change overnight. Start doing some reading, buy some good books. There's lots of good literature out. There's lots of good books. There are a lot of good cookbooks that you can learn. I mean, I had to teach myself by learning from a cookbook. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what an alkaline diet was either. But after 2 or 3 weeks of just following the recipes, I eventually, because I had to go shopping to buy all the special, not the special oils, but the different oils. Like I only use coconut oil when I cook now. I didn't have coconut oil before this. So, but slowly but surely now I can open up pretty much any alkaline recipe, and I've already got what I need in my kitchen. So it's a step-by-step process. The first steps, I guess, is to find some good recipes that are alkaline recipes, and just start teaching yourself one recipe at a time what an alkaline meal is.
One step at a time.
One step at a time.
Right.
And then the second step is to get the toxicity out of your diet by going into your refrigerator and looking at the ingredients of everything in your refrigerator. And if it says high fructose corn syrup, if it says MSG, if it says red dye number 40, or all these chemical names, just throw them away and go replace them with organic equivalents. And do it 1 bottle at a time. Ketchup is the biggest culprit.
Right.
Go to any restaurant and look at the ketchup bottle and look at the first ingredient, and it's going to say high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is the main culprit behind diabetes and obesity. If you just take that out of a person's diet, a lot of their problems are going to start to improve. So it takes a lot more than just one ingredient removed from the diet, but that's a good start.
So to get rid of the toxicity and get more alkaline in your diet. Patty, anything else?
No, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today and for what you do.